going on
I think,
this train of
yeah.
thought because it makes
Well,
sense.
this because it makes sense, especially
Mm-hmm.
from like an interfaith perspective. Because when
Mm-hmm.
you listen to the Jews and you listen to the Christians, you even listen to Buddhists and Hindus. Like Hindus, I think are very interesting because they kind of affirm everything and they say everything is like God comes in
Mm-hmm.
avatars. And then I ask the question of, well, what if your avatars are really just prophets and angels and all these kind of things that you're turning into God? But put that aside, it we have a lot more in common, and we just forget that because we like you said, we spend more time being tribal and thinking like it's so black and white when really there's a lot of gray area to work with.
Wow. Same.
Um, yeah, I was kind of curious a bit. Can you tell us a bit more about that gray area? Like, what do you mean by there's this gray area between the faiths?
Just as there's gray area like in like the concept of salvation where it's so black and white where it's like I have a shield label so therefore like I'm guaranteed
Mm-hmm.
saved and everyone else is not. There's a lot of gray area in also the theology where when you do interfaith with a lot of different religions you start to see the common denominator, which is that we all really do believe in God. We just express it differently, and we express the guidance
Hmm.
in different ways based on different tribes. But one of the things I like, at least what appeals to me most with Islam, is just the story that is so consistent. One of
Right.
the passages in the Holy Quran, it talks about Abraham. It says Abraham is neither a Jew nor a Christian, but a Muslim who bows his will, to Allah, which is Islam, and he joins not gods with Allah. So that was kind of a light bulb moment where I realized that Islam really wants to say that it has the message of all of the past. So it's not just you have
Right.
these prophets of the past and then you have Judaism. And then it just goes from Judaism and then we have a monopoly over this. Rather, it's saying that all these prophets of the past had a common denominator, which is that each of them submitted their will to Allah. And so it's just like just as the debate is going on, in the Christian world, about Jesus, of, a lot of Christians might be appalled with the idea that Jesus is a Muslim, but it's like, well, wait a minute, did he not submit to God? Did he not have
Right.
someone higher than himself?
Yeah,
Wow.
because they do acknowledge all of the previous prophets and all of the previous stories of that have happened in the past, and they kind of group them together. Um,
Hmm.
but why do people still resist? Like that's something that, kind of is constantly in my head. Like if this if this is also like shown in your text, this is there's so many different signs, and if you really do your own research and look into it, it just shows that, Islam is the final faith or the final religion. So, but people still like fight back, and I don't understand what is the rift there? What is the conflict? What's the issue?
Some of it can be personal sin, such as closed mindedness, such as spiritually not being in tune with information that's coming to you that's different. But, I look at it myself, and when the message of Islam came to me in an uncorrupted form, and it was saying, this is the final messenger, this is the beliefs that you already uphold, so do you accept
Yeah,
this? And of course, alhamdulillah, I accepted it. But I know that,
alhamdulillah.
like, for some people, it can be a struggle. It's not easy if they've been living, like, for, let's say, a priest, for example, or a nun, like within like the
Right.
Catholic Church that has been living such a pious life. Then they interact with a Muslim, and then they're saying like, "Who are you?" And then all of a sudden you're telling them that like their whole mindset is incomplete. That
Yeah.
just can cause a lot of problems like internally. So I don't blame people for choosing misguidance because it is more comfortable, but it doesn't mean that it's going to necessarily fulfill itself in the afterlife, right? Like if the afterlife is something that we are trying to bring more certainty to, then we got to live that out now. So when the
Mm-hmm.
message comes to you, you want to go with that flow and just kind of say, I don't know when like the end is near for me. So like I just want to make sure I'm guided by God.